Hold up. Rivian didn't just update a truck. They rewrote what an electric pickup can be. Meet the 2026 Rivian R1T quad. The one with 4 independent motors, brainy torque vectoring, and enough grunt to make you forget this thing's a truck and not a supercar with a bed. Over the next 8 minutes, I'll take you through the design, the interior, the wild performance numbers, charging and range realities, the tech that actually matters, price, and who this truck is for. Spoiler, it's loud in all the best ways. From the outside, it's unmistakably Rivian. Clean, purposeful, and modern. But the quad wears a slightly tougher look. The light bar up front still gives it that signature face. But bumpers are beefed up, skid plates are visible, and the body sits higher with real underbody protection. Not just for show. The wheels are big and purposeful, wrapped in rubber that says, "We'll go off-road," and the short overhangs plus long wheelbase make it feel planted. Little details like integrated recovery points, a smarter tailgate, and a bed that's actually modular remind you this is a working truck. Except it doesn't sound like one when you launch it. Step inside and you get the Rivian blend of utility and premium. The cabin is calm and modern. Big central touchscreen, clean physical controls for the essentials, and materials that feel both rugged and refined. There's still that brilliant gear tunnel running through the middle, a storage solution Rivian perfected, plus a surprisingly deep front trunk for extra luggage. Seats are supportive for long trips, and the interior layout leans into clever utility. Hidden compartments, weatherproof storage, and outlets in all the right places. It's a luxury SUV crossed with a toolbox, and it works. Now let's talk about the headline stuff, because this is where the R1T quad becomes outrageous. Rivian's quad setup puts an electric motor at each wheel, which lets the truck independently control torque for insane traction and handling. That setup yields roughly 1,025 horsepower and about 198 lb-ft of wheel torque. And Rivian quotes a no-cruise 60 sprint in around 2.6 seconds. Yes, in a pickup truck. Rivian.com. That's supercar territory, and it's usable thanks to launch controls and a chassis that was engineered to handle the forces involved. Range and battery tech aren't afterthoughts either. The quad gets Rivian's large battery architecture and a very real long-range capability. EPA-style estimates put the quad in the high 300s of miles. Rivian lists real-world numbers in the mid to high 300s depending on mode. And the company is careful to give a conserve mode for stretch range driving. That means you can plan real road trips with this thing without living at charging stalls. Rivian.com. Battery capacity numbers have varied by reporting, but expect Rivian's large pack options in the 120-140 kWh usable range, depending on configuration, which is part of why the truck can carry those long mile claims. Edmunds charging has been improved for 2026. Rivian now embraces NX and has boosted peak charging rates across the lineup, which translates to practical fast charge sessions that actually add huge chunks of range in 15 to 30-minute stops, not just in ideal lab conditions, but in real highway use. Plan your trip stops with confidence. A short break at a high-power charger gets you back on the road quickly. Car and driver. On the road, the quad's independent motors change the driving game. Torque vectoring works in milliseconds, so the truck can dial power to the right wheel to pull itself out of slippery situations, attack a corner with surprising composure, or manage trailer sway while towing. Off-road, it's ridiculous in the best way. Adaptive air suspension gives huge ride height when you need it. Specialized drive modes tune traction and damping for sand, rock, or snow, and the articulation keeps wheels planted when others would climb. It's the kind of capability that lets you confidently point the truck at places you'd usually only dream about going in a gas rig. Practical features matter too. Rivian's bed ecosystem remains one of the most thoughtful out there. Configurable tie-downs, slide-in kitchen options, and integrated power outlets turn the truck into a mobile base camp. The gear tunnel still exists, and is now even more functional with additional power connections and weatherproofing. The bed also supports useful utility options: modular storage boxes, racks, and a tailgate designed to be more usable than most trucks' stock tails. The front trunk swallows fragile gear that shouldn't live in the open bed. That's something you don't realize you want until you have it. Inside the tech stack, Rivian leans hard into software that matters. Smart trip planning with charger integration, OTA updates that add features and refine behavior, and a suite of driver assists that are increasingly capable. Rivian's off-road navigation and waypoint planning are legitimately useful if you actually explore. And OTA means the truck gets better after you buy it. New drive modes, refined traction strategies, even improvements to charging behavior can arrive without a dealer visit. So what does all this cost? The quad-motor R1T sits in the premium range. Current pricing for the quad lands around the low to mid six figures, depending on options and battery. Think starting in the ballpark of $115,000, $120,000. For a well-equipped quad, with fully optioned examples climbing from there. US News Cars. Yes, it's a serious investment, but compared to the combination of supercar-level performance, overland-grade capability, and a premium interior, Rivian's pricing lands where you'd expect for a top-tier lifestyle truck. Who should buy this? If your life involves weekend overlanding, long trips, where charging convenience is important, and you want a truck that can both tow and thrill, the R1T Quad is a brilliant fit. It's for buyers who want a standalone vehicle that's part luxury SUV, part expedition rig, and part performance machine. If you're purely a heavy-duty commercial buyer, focused on lowest cost per mile towing day in and day out, there are cheaper, more utilitarian options. But if you want the most versatile electric truck on the market, one that'll outrun many sports cars, tow your boat, and climb trails on Saturdays, this is it. Nothing is perfect, of course. It's heavy, so consumables like tires and brakes will cost more over time. Repairs on bespoke bodywork and high-voltage systems can be pricier, and availability in some markets will be limited depending on Rivian's production cadence. But for buyers who want capability and tech wrapped in a distinct design, those trade-offs are expected. At the end of the day, the 2026 Rivian R1T Quad is a statement. Electric trucks can be brutally fast, embarrassingly capable off-road, and surprisingly civilized on the road. It's a truck that refuses to compromise on fun while still being useful. If you dream about a vehicle that doubles as a weekend explorer and a daily showstopper, the Quad is the kind of machine that makes you excited to go outside again. Okay, if you've been following EVs, you probably already know the Cybertruck is one of the most talked about vehicles on the planet. And for 2026, it's still doing what it does best, making people stop and stare. But this time around, it's trying to be a little more grown up. Think the same wild, angular look, but with tweaks that actually make it more useful in daily life. From the outside, nothing about the Cybertruck screams timid. That stainless steel body still looks like it belongs in a sci-fi movie. But the new updates soften a few edges and add some practical touches, improved lighting, a few more refined joints, and details that make it look less like a concept and more like something you'd actually live with. It still stands out in any parking lot. But the message is now, I'm futuristic and I can do work too. Inside, Tesla doubled down on its minimalism. It's Spartan, yes, but the 2026 updates make the cabin feel cleaner and more usable. Better storage, clearer displays, and a nicer feel to the materials. It's not Bentley-level luxury, but you don't buy a Cybertruck to feel like a banker. You buy it because you want space, tech, and that distinct Tesla vibe. Posters and forums have been buzzing about interior photos and the vibe they give off. Less toy, more tool. Now here's the bit that's got everyone talking. The powertrain rumors. Tesla outlined a plan for a bed-mounted range extender in past updates, basically an add-on to give extra miles. And that idea has morphed in the rumor mill into talk of hybrid-style options or range-extending solutions. The official story has been a little messy. Tesla at one point mentioned a range extender that would add substantial range. But the timeline and specifics have shuffled around, and the feature's status has been unclear publicly. So, treat the hybrid talk as possible and interesting, not confirmed tech that you can order today. What's exciting is how those ideas change what the Cybertruck could be. Imagine the utility of a long-range setup for long trips, or a system that eases range anxiety for people who want to use it as a real daily truck. If Tesla nails a reliable range extender or improves battery tech, it shifts the Cybertruck from a bold city statement to a genuine long-haul tool. Off-road? The Cybertruck still wants to flex. Ground clearance, robust suspension software, and a pretty clever torque delivery mean it's built to go places most SUVs avoid. The 2026 tweaks focus more on making the truck actually work off the beaten path. Better approach and departure angles, improved underbody protection, and more refined traction control. Take it onto dirt, and it behaves like a serious utility vehicle, rather than a delicate showpiece. Driving it on tarmac is a slightly different story. The Cybertruck always had this paradox. It's huge and heavy, yet it can pull surprisingly quick numbers, thanks to electric torque. In everyday driving, the 2026 updates try to smooth out the ride and dialing in the steering feel, so it doesn't feel like you're wrestling a spaceship. It's still unique to drive, that's the appeal, but the improvements make it more approachable for longer trips and for folks who want to actually use the bed, tow stuff, or haul gear. Let's talk tech. If you like the idea of an accessible, software-forward truck, Tesla's still the leader. The Cybertruck ships with the usual Tesla suite, navigation, over-the-air updates, autopilot features, and the company keeps adding software tweaks that change the experience long after you buy it. That's a double-edged sword. New features can pop up and make your truck better, but it also means some promised hardware features, like range extenders, can lag or change. Still, from the touchscreens to the user experience, the Cybertruck feels like a modern connected pickup. Price is where reality sits down beside your dreams. Early expectations for the Cybertruck were famously ambitious, but the market has been messy. Tesla's initial promises of a bargain base model haven't really panned out, and current pricing for the Cybertruck sits well above what many originally hoped. For 2026, industry listings and price guides put typical starting prices in the neighborhood of the low to mid $80,000 range for mainstream trims, depending on options and battery choices. That's a meaningful chunk of change. But if you're comparing it to high-end rivals and loaded pickup builds, it's not wild. Just know that those cool options and longer range solutions will push the sticker even higher. Okay, how does this version stack up to the early Cybertruck hype and past models? The OG promise was affordable, game-changing pickup, and reality has been more complicated. Stellar design, bold ambitions, and some manufacturing and pricing wrinkles. The 2026 updates feel like Tesla admitting, okay, let's make this more usable for people who actually use trucks. It's less about insane, unreachable promises, and more about delivering on utility, tech, and a distinct identity you won't forget. Meanwhile, real-world data shows the truck's sales and market reception have had ups and downs. It's been polarizing, and that continues to shape how Tesla positions updates and pricing. So, who should consider the Cybertruck in 2026? If you want something that stands out, that's packed with tech, and you're okay trading a little traditional comfort for a weirdly brilliant design, it's a great pick. If you need predictable, tried-and-true truck ownership with broad dealer support and established servicing networks, some other trucks might be more sensible right now. But for early adopters, tech lovers, and people who want a truck that's a conversation starter and a weekend warrior, the Cybertruck still checks a lot of boxes. Here's the bottom line: the 2026 Cybertruck is less of a promise and more of a maturing product. Tesla is leaning into usability, better interiors, more realistic pricing expectations for what you actually get, and potential range-extending solutions that could make it far more practical. It's still one of the most interesting trucks on sale because nobody else mixes styling, software, and brute electric power like this. If you loved the look and the idea of owning something that's part futuristic sculpture and part workhorse, this version gets closer to reality. If you're buying purely on practicality and lowest cost, wait and compare. Either way, the Cybertruck is far from boring, and it's keeping the EV conversation exciting.